Hello and welcome to episode 270 of Late Night Linux, recorded on the 26th of February 2024. I'm Joe, and with me are Félim.
My friends drive Porsches, I must make amends.
Graham.
Good evening.
And Will.
Hello.
You better pray I don't cut that story, Félim. Anyway, let's get on with the news. And a quick shout out to the Linux lads and is it the Dublin Lug? I think that's what they're called. Yeah. They made it into the Irish Times.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, because they organised this install fest in Dublin, and a journalist from the Irish Times went along and she wrote about it. Is it quite a big deal, the Irish Times, then?
Oh, yeah, but definitely. It's one of the biggest papers. Don't ask me about readership or anything like that. I haven't a clue. Do people read newspapers? Who knows? But yeah, no, it's definitely one of the big ones, yeah. It'd be like maybe The Guardian or something. I don't know. I don't even know is The Guardian big readership?
Oh, yeah. For a newspaper, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Wrong person. But yeah, it is a big paper.
Well, either way, well done, chaps, for getting in the paper. Excellent news from the BBC, extending our Mastodon social media trial.
It is great news. I mean, BBC have started things like this and stopped things like this very quickly. Mastodon could have been a flash in a pan. I think we've talked about this, that we've all actually found it being quite substantive. And I'm certainly getting a lot out of it. And it looks like the BBC are too.
Yeah, they initially started with a 6-month trial, and now they're extending it by at least another 6 months. So they're only taking baby steps with it, which is fair enough, really. But it's obviously going well enough for them to extend it, which is a big thumbs up for Mastodon and the Fediverse generally.
I like it that they've got their own social.bbc server, which is really nice, and so programs can home themselves on their own server. But have they actually got any like presenters or celebrities or whatever on there? I didn't see any yet.
Who are you stalking, Will?
Well, you know, all the weather people, mainly.
No, they're still on Twitter, aren't they? They haven't got the memo yet.
Yeah, that seems like a shame that they haven't managed to, I don't know, set up whatever apps they've got to send it to their own Mastodon instance as well. That would be a nice step to see.
Yeah, but the BBC is a large organisation that is quite bureaucratic. So it's a surprise that they even did this in the first place. And what you're talking about there, I think, would take quite a lot longer than 6 months for them to actually implement by the time it had all been through legal and all the rest of it. But we can hope, and it is still a vote of confidence from the BBC that they've continued to do this. So I think it's excellent news for the Fediverse. Excellent news from Signal. Starting soon, TM, you'll be able to have an account on Signal and talk to people without them finding out your phone number.
Wow, how do they manage this?
I know, look, you can be snarky about it if you want.
Correct.
I would like to use Signal more than I do already, and this is going to mean that I can do that.
Yeah, the thing that they should have started with, you can do. I mean, whatever about needing the phone number as a way to authenticate that you are a real person with a real phone, fine. But why has that always had to be public? For the privacy chat system that you have to have your phone number out there, like the thing you pretty much can't change.
Look, they're doing this now, and that's all that counts. Stop moaning.
No, I'm going to keep moaning because I hate them because we can't use an open client. We have to use their crunky one that they've made. So they can F off. They're not getting any praise from me for doing the thing they should have started with.
Their client's open source, though.
You can't use it on the network, though, if you do it yourself, which means you can't compile it in F-Droid.
I was hoping this was going to be a great news story and we could maybe think about moving away from Telegram, but you've shat all over it, Félim. Well done.
Good.
Oh, no, I still think it's a great news story. I've been thinking about how shit Telegram is recently. You know, as I said before, I don't use WhatsApp on principle, and that's kind of a crippling social problem for me because I miss out so much. I use Telegram, but really, what's the difference between WhatsApp and Telegram? I don't know why I trust Telegram anymore, really, but I do trust Signal more than both of those two, and I think we need it.
Open client, though.
I know.
You can build that client. You can't do that with WhatsApp.
Definitely not. Although someone in our Telegram group was saying that they tried out the Telegram FOSS and it just banned them and deleted their account.
What? That is absolute nonsense. I use it all the time. The one in F-Droid.
Well, this person said they'd used it before with no problem, but they signed in and just got insta-banned. So I don't know what happened there.
They must be up to something else.
Well, anyway, this is good. Once this comes in, I'm going to experiment with it, and maybe we could start using Signal rather than Telegram. But it seems like Félim's going to be the blocker to that. So.
Good. I have it installed. I have to use it.
Oh, right.
For some other stuff, but I don't like using it, and I kept getting pinged on it because people know my phone number, and I'm like, fuck off, use Telegram. I don't want to use this.
Oh, your phone number's public, right? I'm going to ping you on that.
Has to be, because I haven't got that feature enabled yet.
Yeah.
I'll just block you like all the other people. Well, I won't block you. I'll just add you to the archive bin of people I'm not chatting to.
Asahi Linux project's OpenGL support on Apple Silicon officially surpasses Apple's. This headline sounds a bit better than it actually is, really, when you find out that Apple doesn't really support OpenGL very much and hasn't done for ages. But nevertheless, it is still a win for Asahi.
I think it's amazing. Again, I mean, Apple is not supporting OpenGL fully for its own reasons, about moving away from something as open as OpenGL. So the fact that somebody has come along and created a different platform to allow alternatives like that is brilliant.
Yeah, and Alyssa wrote a blog post about it, and it is just amazing how complicated it is. You've got to pass over 100,000 tests to be deemed officially conformant. How these people do this stuff, you've just got to be on a next level of intelligence, I think. My tiny little mind could not conceive of reverse engineering drivers and stuff. It's just amazing to me that they can do it.
I think you have to be massively stubborn, because the inertia required to get me to even start doing something like that, I'd be like, nope, no, it's just not possible. Oh, well, that's a shame. Let's move on.
Well, I suppose you do Bluetooth reverse engineering. That's basically the same thing, right?
I would not even have a clue where to start with this, honestly. With the stuff that I do, like, you've got a defined standard. You can see exactly which bytes are being put where, and then you just have to copy that. This is on a different level. This is, I don't even know where you'd start. It's incredibly complicated. They do talk about it being fully compliant, but then they go on to talk about the fact that some of these like calls or whatever functions aren't actually, or don't seem to be actually implemented on the hardware, which means that they have to do stuff in software. So reading that and without testing it, it sounds to me like, although it is compliant, there may be certain dusty corners which aren't as fast as they would otherwise be. I don't think that really matters, though. If you're running Linux on a Mac, I think that this is a really good step in the direction for graphics to just work. They will improve it over time. It's an incredible amount of work, and I never thought we'd get this far. I think I said back when we first talked about Asahi Linux, I don't think they'll ever get this working, and, you know, I'm proven wrong.
They just keep surprising us. They keep proving us wrong, just getting more and more stuff working on it. It's amazing. Such a great project. Mercedes-Benz AG, FOSS Manifesto. What? opensource.mercedes-benz.com/manifesto.
I thought it was a fake page.
Yeah. They talk about company principles and employee principles and how they're going to encourage and support all its employees to use and contribute to and create FOSS projects. This has come completely out of left field. Graham, I think you put this in, didn't you?
I did, yes. I saw Bruce Perens mention it on Mastodon. And I couldn't believe it either, especially after watching that video of Liz Truss. I thought I'd fallen into some alternate universe.
No, it's perfectly normal for ex-Prime Ministers to hang out with Steve Bannon.
It looks good. I mean, I don't know what to say. They say FOSS and everything, like they know what they're talking about.
Yeah, encourage FOSS. Advancement through FOSS. Open source communities, FOSS visibility. They're certainly saying all the right stuff. I don't suppose it means that the infotainment systems are going to be open source, though, somehow.
I wouldn't count on that. I think there's an internal team there that is even members of some communities that we would know, but I can't say the names, I think, so I better not.
Right. Let's leave it shrouded in mystery, then.
Shrouded in mystery, exactly, but you would know them.
Having a very quick poke around their GitHub page, I thought, oh yeah, there's not going to be much there. There's 185 repositories there. Some more active than others, but nevertheless, that's a pretty impressive one. The one that caught my eye was ODX Tools, a set of utilities for working with diagnostic descriptions of automotive electronic control units using blah, 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 blah. Open Diagnostics Data Exchange. So this sounds like You plug into the ODB port on your car and download a whole bunch of data. And here's Mercedes telling you how to understand and interpret the data that you download off your car. That sounds brilliant.
Are we actually starting to win?
We'll have to see whether Mercedes offers a subscription-only seat heater.
The thing is, right, I do like that bit where it says, before you do anything, use open source. I mean, that alone is a good sort of impression, I think.
Yeah, that should certainly be how public institutions go on, like governments and stuff. It should be the default is open source. And if there's some specific reason why we can't do it open source, maybe we do it proprietary. But it's very strange to see a straight up business talking like this about open source.
Yeah. If only I wasn't poor.
Yeah, I'd buy a sweet new Mercedes EV or whatever.
If I work for Microsoft or something, maybe I could afford to buy a Mercedes with a FOSS software.
You may be poor, Félim, but your source code is running on Mercedes cars.
Thank God. Meanwhile, I've got proprietary shite in my Ford.
Okay, this episode is sponsored by Tailscale. Go to tailscale.com/LNL. Tailscale is an easy-to-deploy, zero-config, no-fuss VPN that allows you to build simple networks across complex infrastructure. In just a few minutes, you can have PCs, servers, phones, tablets, and other devices all over the world connected as if they were all on the same LAN. Recently, I finally got round to setting up off-site backups at my parents' house. It's something I'd been meaning to do for years, but thanks to how simple Tailscale is to set up, my ZFS snapshots get sent over there every night, and I feel like there's one thing I can stop worrying about. So if you want the benefits of WireGuard without the hassle of configuring it manually, don't take my word for how easy it is to set up. Give Tailscale a go yourself. Support the show and go to tailscale.com/LNL and try Tailscale out for free for up to 100 devices and 3 users with no credit card required. That's tailscale.com/LNL. It's official. Apple kills web apps in the EU. This is a post from Open Web Advocacy. And this is follow-on from the DMA thing, the EU's Digital Markets Act. And it is not even malicious compliance anymore. It's Apple just being complete and utter bastards because they were forced to have other web browser engines on iOS. And so now they said, oh, well, we'll do that, but we're going to shut down web apps. So you can't have web apps, which was one of the main fucking points of having other web browser engines on iOS. And they're trying to say, oh, it's because of security, but that's bullshit. It's because of their monopoly on the App Store. They don't want companies to be able to have a functioning web app that integrates with the notifications and all the rest of it, that bypasses the 30% tax that they have on their App Store. And the EU, it looks like, has taken note of this and is not going to let them get away with it. Thank fuck.
Well, I'm not so sure because it says welcome to Nginx, so I think they've been foiled. That link that you provided. The server's already offline. Apple has struck.
No, that was just because it's a Financial Times article. I linked to archive.is, which seems to be fucked for you, but it's working for me because it's paywalled, isn't it? But yeah, EU seeks to investigate Apple overcutting off web apps. So they are aware of this. They're aware of the chicanery and the shenanigans that Apple are pulling. And as usual, it's going to take them a while to get around to it. But Apple are not going to get away with this. Fingers crossed, touch wood.
It still doesn't stop companies like Apple. We seem to be in a world where they all have to default to doing nothing. You know, nothing along the intentions of what those laws were made. And it's just very, very sad. What difference does it make to them, really? A little bit of control?
Do you remember somebody wrote into us last week and said why we don't like Apple? I think this right here is it. It's the whole, if it's not their way, it's the highway sort of thing. It's, I don't know, it's so petulant. Like,
well, and how they've convinced people that having one app store and not being able to sideload apps and having to jailbreak it if you want to do that. And just that whole language they use, that whole sort of cult-like language.
But they've made it work.
Well, it's why they're one of the biggest companies in the world.
Yeah, they've made it work. That's a business decision that they've been able to succeed at.
I mean, down to calling it a fucking logic board instead of a motherboard like everyone else. They have to just do their own shit, don't they? They have to have their own cult way of doing everything.
28-volt power supply. Fucking share of bastards. That was a G4 or something like that. Painful. Yeah, anyway. I remember paid so much for something that was secondhand.
I just don't know what it will take to change this default posture in their terminology. I mean, it's bullshit, but I don't see how we're ever going to change Apple and Google.
Well, the only way is through large political organizations fining them and forcing them to do shit and having legislation with actual teeth. Like, instead of $50 million or whatever, which is just fucking pocket change to them, saying shit like 10 or 20% of your turnover, we're going to fine you. That's the kind of shit that's going to make them make changes. And it's going to take a long time. It's going to be slow, but it's going to take organizations like the EU and maybe the US government to actually make them change. And it's through advocacy groups like this one that friend of the show, Stuart Langridge, is heavily involved with, that's going to happen. And I never thought that Stuart and friends would make a difference, but they fucking have, man, and hats off to him.
Oh, Jesus, don't give him an even bigger head than he's already got.
Well, I know.
That's a really good point. I'm going to not make any cynical comments.
It is slowly changing, and it is going to happen, and Apple's huge full-time legal team are not going to get them out of it. It's going to be fine. Meanwhile, we'll just use proper Linux on a phone.
Maybe Mercedes could start making phones. They were in a winner, you see?
Yeah.
I can see you've turned this show into a real shit sandwich and we're really in the shit part, aren't we?
Mozilla downsizes as it refocuses on Firefox and AI.
Oh, dear.
Read the memo.
Cool.
Right. Now, this is not as bad as it sounds.
Mm-hmm.
It's not as bad. Let's just forget about the AI bit. Mozilla downsizes as it refocuses on Firefox. That is good. That is what we've been asking them to do. It's not good for the people who've lost their jobs. That sucks. But refocusing on Firefox, thank you very much. You've listened to us. Well done. Can we all agree on that, at least, Félim?
No.
No.
I'm waiting until I see what they do first.
Right. Now, the AI thing sounds alarming, like, oh no, they're going to put generative AI in
Yes, it
Firefox.
does. It really does.
However, we can link to a post on Mastodon by a fellow called Just Anthony. Don't know anything else about him. And he makes the point that not all AI is the same. He says, when you say you don't want AI in your browser, really, you don't want translation services or copy text from an image? Not all AI is equal. So if it's shit like that, like on-device translation, yes, please. Like he says, copying text from an image, that's a handy thing. There are ways to have good AI. And okay, you can argue, Félim, about what is ML. And
that's the problem.
Look, that is like calling a podcast. Oh, I'm not calling it a podcast because iPods don't even exist anymore. Language changes. AI doesn't necessarily mean artificial intelligence in the strictest sense. It generally means machine learning shit. It's just been rebranded. Get over it.
No, I won't.
All right, Stallman. But anyway, I think that there is a possibility that this is a positive turn of events, that they're going to stay competitive with features like translation and other actual handy AI shit, and not just have bullshit like, here's a really horrible image that just is obviously AI generated. I want to believe.
A lot of people are very cynical about the whole AI thing in all of the comments below Anthony's post. But yeah, maybe we should give them time. But I think we've been burnt so many times by Mozilla that I think we really need to wait and see.
We do need to wait and see, but we've been moaning at them. Please concentrate on Firefox for the last 3 years or more.
Yeah.
Probably more.
Maybe we should have been more specific about what they should do with it, though. That's the worst part. Now that they actually will, they'll just go and do everything wrong.
I think there's hope here. The Mozilla Developer Network is a very good resource, full of factually correct examples, and that should be a really good training set for AI. If you're developing JavaScript in your browser and that browser is Firefox, there's a very decent chance that some generative AI in there helping you write JavaScript could be a power for good. So yeah, I'm very much in the wait and see camp. It could go well.
On to a bit of admin then. First of all, thank you everyone who supports us with PayPal and Patreon. We really do appreciate that. If you want to join those people, you can go to latenightlinux.com/support. And remember that for various amounts on Patreon, you can get an advert-free RSS feed of either just this show or all the shows in the Late Night Linux family. And remember that quite a lot of episodes show up a day or so early in the Patreon feed. And if you want to get in contact with us, you can email show@latenightlinux.com. Okay, this episode is sponsored by Automox. Are you prepared for whatever shitstorm may hit your desk during the workday? Automox has your back. Check out the brand new Autonomous IT podcast. Listen in as various IT experts discuss the latest Patch Tuesday releases, mitigation tips, and custom automations to help with CVE remediations. Make new work friends. Listen now to the Autonomous IT podcast on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you tune into your podcasts. Introducing Canonical's Open Documentation Academy. This is written by someone called Graham Morrison.
I've just written a blog post about this. It's on ubuntu.com today. And it's actually from an idea I had, but I don't want to take credit for it. That's just to show that it's not like me shilling for Canonical and this isn't some kind of corporate idea of getting free labor to work on documentation. This really is because I think documentation is such a great way to get involved with open source. And at Canonical now, we've got quite a big documentation team. There's now almost 20 of us. And we work on all of the open source projects that Canonical owns. And it just seems like such an ideal opportunity for us as part of wanting to help the open source community, I mean, as technical authors, and for people who may want to get involved to reach out to us. So really, that's what the Documentation Academy is in a nutshell. The core of the idea is that we're all trying to create a list of kind of tasks. They're actually hosted on GitHub under issues, but they're really kind of tasks or missions or quests that anybody who's interested in contributing to an open source project can take a look through. They range from proofreading, finding typos, making sure stuff works, to creating a how-to or updating a guide to something, or even tooling, if that's what you like. And we will help. The technical authors will help in any way we possibly can to try and help you get that through to completion. And at the end of it, you get a verified contribution to a project. We hopefully get something we can use, although that really isn't the main reason behind this. I don't know if we ever will get to the end results of something. It's about helping people get some experience behind them and kind of get on this on-ramp for contributions to open source projects.
And you're going to be doing office hours. Is that like a webinar type deal?
So I don't know if we will have the kind of the bandwidth to have this a one-to-one kind of mentoring situation with people. I hope that we can, but to kind of ease that pressure, once a week we're going to have this kind of public meeting where we will talk about the kind of stuff that we do. That will be kind of like magazine style, where there'll be a few sections to it. So we'll talk about what we're doing in this first one. We'll talk about the Academy itself and perhaps introduce some of us as authors. But also we'll answer questions that are left offline about the Academy or about documentation at Canonical, and we'll try to respond to everybody's questions and help people through this and through the discourse forum on Ubuntu. So really the office hours is just a way of kind of adding an interactive element to it.
So the idea of this is to get people involved in documentation and get them more experienced, and hopefully as a side benefit of that, they'll help out with Canonical documentation. But ultimately, you're trying to mentor people into documentation in the first place.
Yeah, totally that. And it's through documentation, but really hoping to get people involved in open source, because documentation is much more accessible than code. I think it's easier for a lot of people to understand that they can make a documentation contribution. It kind of forces them to learn about a project before they perhaps go on and make code contributions. So I'm really hoping it's other people as well who may not in the end want to be too involved with documentation, but it's a way of them getting used to contributing to a project and how a project may be governed.
And what will they need to kind of get started? Do you need any particular software or skills or?
No, I mean, this is only the very beginning, and I think we need to do a lot more work. So I've been trying to write like a getting started guide today, and we're doing it through a GitHub repository where the issues are listed, and we'll probably do all the reviews and most of the kind of one-to-one conversations we need to have. I'm hoping that we can document some kind of really easy Git workflow. I don't want people to have to learn Git, but I mean, GitHub's got a pretty good web UI and editor for working with text documents. So really hoping it's as accessible as possible, but equally hopefully there's some really deeply technical and challenging tasks for people if they feel up to it as well.
Hashtag LaTeX.
Well, yeah. I mean, some projects use Sphinx and RST. So if that's something you want to learn and make a contribution to, that's one side of it. We also use Markdown and just raw text.
And I suppose like anything open source, this is kind of an idea that will evolve, and part of that evolution will be the people who get involved with it.
Yes, that is really true. Everyone I've spoken to thinks it's a good idea, but we don't really know what the shape of that idea is until people start getting involved. And I've been kind of sitting on it since November or December, and I'm a bit of a perfectionist and I want to kind of get the idea finalized before going live, but I think I would have just ended up waiting forever. And so I think we've got to kind of get the ball rolling, try and help people in any way we can. And I think that will ultimately shape what the documentation academy becomes.
Perfection is the enemy of good enough.
Yeah. I'm terrible for it.
Yeah, same. Absolutely massively so.
I know that probably the first thing people will think is this is a way of Canonical getting, free labour on its documentation. And it really
That's not what you said to us earlier, Graham.
But I mean, I'm hoping it requires a lot of effort on our part to try and help people, and people will feel like they've got a lot out of it.
Yeah, and they'll be able to contribute to other projects and other companies' documentation.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a bit of a dream, but it would be wonderful if other people wanted to use the model and we could all become some kind of federated state of documentation academies. I don't know.
You're a dreamer, Graham, but I like it. All right, Félim, you've managed to put in a bit of a sneaky KDE Korner.
Well, I think it only should be allowed given there's 2 days until Plasma 6 is out. 2 days.
Yeah. Well, we'll probably talk about it in a couple of weeks. Plasma 6, maybe our impressions of it. It might even be 3 weeks now when it'll be well old news. Anyway, new Krita.org website launched.
Yeah, just a really nice webpage there. I thought it was funny. I didn't say it when Chris was on the show last time, where he was talking about GIMP not having 16-bit support, and I just thought 32-bit float support is available in Krita, for God's sake. Got it covered.
No, he was talking about the CMYK stuff.
Oh, CMYK, yeah, but that's all got it. We've got that in Krita. It's all good. It's all good. It's proper.
Fair enough. And a Kubuntu graphic design contest. Now, I was reading this thinking, hang on, you want someone to do all the work for you to like redesign your whole logo and everything. And then I looked at the prizes. Oh, hang on, you could win like a sweet laptop or a desktop.
Too damn right.
I'm thinking, maybe I better get good at graphics all of a sudden.
Yeah, no, it's quite cool. And it's nice to see Kubuntu get a bit of love in this and sort of maybe redefine their style they've had for quite a while at this point. I think when Ubuntu changed that font, was it Human? Is that the name of the font or no, or not Human? The Ubuntu font, maybe.
Yeah.
That's when they last changed. And that's quite a while ago at this point.
No, that was only, 2 or 3 years ago, wasn't it?
No.
It's funny. I've been trying out very old versions of Ubuntu and seeing that old font. I just brought back such
that's
memories.
the Human one, isn't it? The really old one. Yeah. Oh.
More sort of curvy and round and comic-like. All right, and Wayland Fake Session Restore.
Yeah, so Wayland doesn't have the protocol standardized on Session Restore yet, but they have a fake Session Restore in Plasma 5, 6 coming out, where you can get the applications that know where they last were, what size they were to reload, and it has a sort of a way to at least start the applications that were started last time. So it's partly way there until we get the proper Wayland standard for it. So that's cool.
All right, and 805/500 supporters. What on earth is that?
So for Plasma 6, they had what they thought were a lofty goal that they weren't going to reach of getting 500 new supporters that would pay, €10 a month or dollars, I can't remember which it is, to support development on KDE. And so far, they've got 805. So that is brilliant. And yeah, more people, their page is still open. You can join all the way through on future releases. You can get your name in there as well as one of the supporters. And it's really good to see that happen. And it's great that the community funds so much of the work in KDE. And
you put something about the original 5.0 release that is almost exactly 10 years ago.
Yeah, that has shook me to the core. I didn't realize Plasma 5 was 10 years old. That is insane.
Actually, it's July, so that's a few months. But yeah, it's more or less 10 years.
Give or take. 2014, even 2014 being 10 years ago is disturbing enough.
It is, yes. Well, we look forward to Plasma 6 coming out, and maybe we'll talk about it at some point in the future. Right, well, we better get out of here then. We'll be back next week when we might have some discoveries. We might even have a new segment, or is it just an old stolen segment? We'll have to see. But until then, I've been Joe.
I've been Félim.
I've been Graham.
And I've been Will.
See you later.